Hi guys, it's me Brent and welcome to my channel and here. And somehow like because I talking about my work and somehow we come to a topic and we're talking about mercy. And somehow I'm like, oh okay, actually there's a big topic of it. Uh, I just gonna talk a little bit things about it. So usually mercy is being like used in a very religious way, especially when they are talking about like a God or in the Old Testament age, like they will just say that uh, the angels give me mercy or something like this, but that usually is coming from God, something like a mythical beings, and yeah, and it's pretty interesting talking about it because like when people are trying to using this word yourself, usually people just feel grace. Yeah, right. At the first glance, you would just think about it as something like graceful. And sometimes our church member were also using like this kind of terms. I'm not saying that it's not good, but I'm just trying to think about like why our church not really trying to use that term so much. I mean, especially in the official terms itself, we don't really use the merciful or something like this because like we will try to understand our church itself a little bit because our church is like keep on emphasizing that God is our parents, He's not our Lord. Like Lord is like in the past when God still needs to come as a very far distance to us, and somehow human beings are fallen like below the angel. Angel are the servant of God, so it means that human become the servant of servants position. So that's why when we're calling angel, we're calling God, we need to use the word Lord. And after because all the restoration itself, the providential restoration, the stages, and we just eventually come to the stage of like a parent-child relationship. It's starting from Jesus, but actually Jesus at that time, what he need to do is to become, or like we say, to restore every human beings back to God as a direct lineage. But at that time, he can only come as the only begotten Son, and he can't multiply the lineage. So that's why it stops. But Jesus introduced the word to call God as Abba, which means like a father, or like father is still too strong in the terms of like intellectual thinking. So actually, it's much more like Papa or like Daddy. Yeah. And somehow, when you comes to the mindset of like a daddy, you don't think that your daddy is a lord. You don't think that your dad is someone who is far away from you, but instead, you have a very close relationship. And yeah, and our founder basically like really believed that heavenly parent is meant to be like a parents, which means there's a father side and also the mother side. Like it's a mono being, but not two, but they have the both side of the yang and yin. So it's much more like a masculine side as well as the feminine side, and both are come from God in this sense. And because God is our parent, so actually, like when we try to understand the word mercy itself, it's much more like you give me the grace because I'm and not because of something, but then I am unworthy to get any kind of grace of it. Yeah. Uh, and this time itself is like for me, there is something like we have a very strong, like a far distance in between that even though I try to reach, I cannot reach it. And but then somehow it also reminds me right now about the Da Vinci, like one of the drawing, like a god trying to touch Adam, and Adam like hand is like not really putting out, like still bending a little bit. If it just reach it, they will just connect. Yeah, see. I believe the parent, like the God and human beings relationship with our church understanding and teaching. So it's much more like we are on this kind of relationship. So we just need to do a little bit more efforts, and we can just connect with God. I'm not saying that we become God, but we can connect with God together. But yeah, like in the basic life, the daily life that we're living in is like very complicated and everything just wandering all around. Yeah, so it just makes us like much more difficult to connect with God. But actually, it's not that God is away from us. So in a sense, the parents is always like waiting for the children. So the term mercy itself is much more like a Lord treating the servant, but in a graceful way, and the servant knows that they are unworthy to live in front of their Lord. So that's why they say that you give me mercy. Yeah, give me mercy to let me live, even though I did some mistakes. Yeah, and there's much more like this kind of like teaching itself have some differences, but I think the differences is because that Jesus can't really convey this part of the feeling very truly yet. Because like just think about like 3 years, he needs to talk about everything, and the disciples need to understand everything, and at the same time they need to cleanse away all the cultural like input that they already input in their mind so strongly, like talking about they are the servant of God and they are the chosen people. But even though they are the chosen people, they are only like a servant of God and not like a children of God. They only say that they are the descendant of the Abraham. Yeah, in this way. Yeah. So it's much more like everything is trying to be connected in this way. Yeah. And other than that, I'll just, I mean, if you are interested, I think even with the lyrics that the Christians using and our church using is totally different in a sense, especially right now, Church One era. Because in Church One era, we don't really use the word Lord again, and we keep on trying to use the word you, because you is like a much more closer relationship between me and you, and me and God is like a me and you relationship. And eventually we'll try to remove the word you, and because we are living together with God, so it's much more like us, we. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's like a very good comparison between it, but I think it's much more like just a sharing thought, a little bit small episodes talking about the terms mercy. Yeah, hope you all just understand it, and yeah, hope you all just enjoy it, and yeah, see you in my next video. Bye bye.